At this point, we've implemented the HTML responses part of the Inertia protocol. So the HTML responses part specifies that when you get a regular page request, i.e. there's no special headers, you respond with a full HTML document. You have a root div with an ID of app, and then a data page attribute that specifies what component and page to load. And we can see that we're doing this for the index page. So if I refresh the page, this is a normal page request, there's no special headers, and the response is HTML with the scripts to load React and Inertia injected into our template dynamically, and also we get a div with a dynamically generated data page attribute. What we're going to do next is implement the Inertia responses part of the Inertia protocol. So to implement Inertia responses, we'll look out for an X-Inertia header that will be sent if someone makes an Inertia navigation. So if you click a link element that's been added using the Inertia link component, the X-Inertia header will be set to true on the request, and instead of responding with HTML, we will respond with JSON, and the JSON will just contain a page object. So I'll start by hopping into our middleware file and adding a set of consts for our headers. So here I've defined a series of Inertia headers. These are all the headers that are supported in the protocol. We'll only care about the X-Inertia one for now, but it's good to have them all specified for completeness. I will add a has header helper to make it easier to detect if a request has a header. So here we have our has header helper. It's going to take a request and a header, and it's going to try and get a header from that request, and it will then see if that is not empty. If it's not empty, it has the header. If it is empty, it doesn't have the header. Next up, we'll jump to our renderer function, and we're going to check if the request has the Inertia header. So here we check if the request has the X-Inertia header. What we're going to do is set the X-Inertia header on the response to true, and then we're going to send back JSON instead of HTML like we would with the template. To see this in action, we're going to add a example page and route to that page so we can see the Inertia responses in action. So I'll add a new example page. So what we have here is an example page component. It takes a prop called phrase, and it has a link back to the index page. Now I'm going to add a router that will route you to this page in our Go server. So here we've added a router for /example page and a handler for that route. We've created our props object. The phrase is don't panic. And then we render the example page component with those props. Last thing we're going to do is, so that we can get to the example page, is we're going to insert a link to our index page to the example page. So here we've inserted a Inertia link component to the example page. Now I'm going to restart the server and give it a test. So here we can see that we have our link to our example page. I click on it, it takes us to the page where we see the phrase. I can also click back to the homepage link, and if I clear the network, you'll notice we're getting Inertia responses. So here, instead of getting a full HTML response, we get a response using JSON, which the page then updates itself to display. So there we can see the different inertia responses. So now we're going to do some quick refactoring of our Go server-side project just by creating some more packages. So we're going to have a routes package and a middleware package. And I'm going to extract the middleware config from main.go. Paste it in. I need to make it a capital letter for it to be exported in Go. Then I'll make sure it's called in main through the package. I'll also move out the routes config. So now we've moved these functions into these packages and just cleaned up our main.go a little bit. Now I'm going to restart the dev server and check everything still works.